Today we're diving into something we've all felt, how silence can totally mess with your head. And more importantly, how you can take back control.
Okay, let's set the scene. You know the feeling, right? You're texting someone, the conversation's flowing, and then boom, nothing, just crickets. And you feel it instantly, don't you? That drop in your stomach, it's like a little gut punch. Your heart might even start racing a bit. It's a real physical thing. So what do? You grab your phone, you pull down to refresh. Nothing. You close the app, open it back up. Again, you get stuck in this little loop, just hoping for some sign that they're still there.
And you probably tell yourself, I'm just being anxious, or I'm overthinking this. But is that really what's going on? Is it just anxiety?
No, the reality is actually way more interesting. That feeling, it isn't random. It's your brain doing exactly what it's programmed to do. And here's the kicker. That predictable response can be used against you. It's how silence gets weaponized.
All right, so to really get this, we've got to look under the hood. Why does our brain freak out so much over, well, nothing? Let's get into the neurology of it all.
Okay, so the first big idea here is something called pattern interruption. See, our brains are basically prediction junkies. They love a good pattern, a rhythm, like the back and forth of a good chat. When that rhythm just stops cold, it's like a glitch in the matrix for your brain. It literally flags an error message. Think of it like hearing a really loud, wrong note in the middle of your favorite song. It's just jarring.
But your brain doesn't just sit there with that error message. Oh no, it scrambles to fill in the blank. And this is where things get, well, a little scary. Because our minds hate a vacuum. We don't fill that silence with happy thoughts. We fill it with our worst fears.
And this chart really drives it home. When we're faced with silence we can't explain, get this. 2/3 of the time we automatically assume the worst. Our first thought isn't, oh, maybe they're just busy. Nope, it's, what did I do? They hate me. We're not mind readers. We're just projecting our own insecurities onto that blank screen.
So, okay, we get it. Our brains are hardwired to hate silence. Now let's talk about how that vulnerability can be exploited. Because sometimes silence isn't an accident, it's a tactic, it's a power play.
All right, picture this. You're in a meeting. Your boss asks for an update on that big project. You give your answer, feeling pretty good about it, and then they just look at you. They don't nod, they don't speak, just silence. What happens next? You talk. You start talking again, right? And it happens fast. On average, it takes just 4 seconds. 4! Before we crack under the pressure and just start filling that awkward, awful silence with anything. And it's not just that we talk, it's what we say. You start over-explaining. You start giving away information they didn't even ask for. If you're in a negotiation, you might even start lowering your asking price. You're literally negotiating against yourself just to make the discomfort stop. You're handing over all the power.
And then, of course, there's the classic weaponized silence, the silent treatment. It looks passive, right? Someone's just not talking. But what it does to your brain is anything but passive. Brain scans show that being ignored lights up the exact same areas as physical pain. Let me say that again. It triggers the same part of your brain as a broken leg. It doesn't just feel bad, it literally physically hurts.
So it all boils down to this. In pretty much any situation where there's a power dynamic, a negotiation, an argument, whatever, the person who can just sit in that uncomfortable silence the longest, that's the person who usually wins. Okay, so we've seen how others can use this against us. But what about when we turn this weapon on ourselves? Because that's what happens. Silence kicks off this vicious internal cycle of anxiety.
This right here says it all. Silence is like an emotional magnifying glass. Whatever you're already feeling, a little insecure, a little worried, silence just makes it 100 times bigger. It cuts off all the real-world information and leaves you alone with your thoughts. And let's be honest, the stories we tell ourselves in our heads are usually way, way worse than the truth.
And look, this hits especially hard if you have what's known as an anxious attachment style. Basically, if you're someone who needs a lot of reassurance to feel secure in a relationship, for you, silence isn't just silence. A text that takes too long to get a reply isn't just a delayed text. It's a sign that it's all over. It's like a fire alarm going off in your soul screaming, abandonment. But maybe the most heartbreaking part of all this is self-silencing. This is when we start doing the manipulator's job for them. You know, when you bite your tongue to avoid a fight, or you say it's fine when it's really, really not fine, you've learned that speaking up might cause friction, so you just silence yourself. And we tell ourselves that's being the bigger person, but it's not. It's abandoning yourself.
Okay, so that's the problem. We see the trap, we understand the weapon, so what do we do about it? Let's talk about the solution, the antidote.
This is the whole key. You have to get this. Silence has no power on its own. It's just empty space. It's a blank canvas. We're the ones who grab the paintbrush and splash our biggest, darkest fears all over it. The power was never in the silence itself. It was in the meaning we assigned.
So how do we actually do this in the moment? Here are 4 steps. 1. Just notice. That's it. Feel that panicked urge to fill the silence and just observe it. Don't act on it. 2. Reframe. Your brain will automatically jump to the worst-case scenario. Force it to come up with 3 boring, neutral reasons. Their phone died. They're stuck in traffic. They're making a sandwich. Seriously, anything boring. 3. Match them. If someone is using silence on you, just be silent back. And 4, the hardest one of all, do nothing. Just let that uncomfortable feeling hang in the air. When you prove to yourself that you can survive the discomfort, you take all its power away.
When you really think about it, it's kind of crazy. When you let silence get to you, you're giving all your emotional power to empty space. You are letting yourself be controlled by nothing.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. The next time you're faced with that silence, that uncomfortable void, what are you going to do? Are you going to spiral, or are you going to hold your power? It's really up to you.